Welcome to our platform for investor education. My name is SG Badrinath. I have been teaching and studying financial markets and equity markets for the last 30 years to students who are undergraduates or MBAs in both the United States and in India. Over this period of time, I have worn several hats. I have been an investor almost always. I have been a trader occasionally. I have been a consultant. I have managed money. I have been a scholar who writes papers that unfortunately for me, very few people actually get to read. At the moment, I hold the Canara Bank Chair of Finance at the Indian Institute of Management in Bangalore.
I write about financial markets, but from the point of view of the households. For 20 years, I have written in newspapers, magazines, some television shows, podcasts, radio, digital, social media, workshop, the works, to take my message of financial empowerment to the households. Many of these lessons I've managed to plug back into policy and regulation, but the one thing that my takeaway has been is that every household wants their money to do better, but they simply don't know how. And that's what we hope to crack with this series. I am Monica Hallan. I am consulting editor with Mint and the author of the best-selling book, Let's Talk Money.
You know, Monica, I'm very surprised that when people think about savings and investing decisions, they don't make medical insurance an explicit part of that decision. Especially because this insurance, the expenses of medical liabilities can be significant. Heart attack costs 4 to 5 lakhs. One of our human resources officers there at IIM recently had a valve replacement and it cost him over 10 lakhs. And these costs are not constant, they are going up and increasing at a pretty significant rate as well.
Right, absolutely. And we don't look at medical insurance as part of our investing decision. We look at it as something else, and that's where most of us make that error. Because we think that things will not happen, or that I have an office cover and that will suffice. But you know what? You could be between jobs, you could have been fired or taking a break, and that medical emergency may happen in that period, and you really need that cover. You spoke about expenses. It is very expensive. And imagine having to spend 10 lakhs. Where will it come from? Either your retirement kitty or your child's education fund. So you are going to harm your own future self by not buying a medical insurance policy today. So it's not enough that your office gives you a policy, you need your own. The earlier you have, the better it is, because the older you get, lifestyle diseases set in, and the closer you are to retirement, it becomes tougher and tougher to actually buy a policy from anyone, even if you're willing to spend the high premium that there is.
You know, I thought about this from my personal situation actually, just in terms of, having lived in the West for a few years. We were fortunate that our office insurance policy covered us for our lives and did not terminate at retirement. It actually continued after that.
You are lucky.
And we were very lucky. But then after thinking about this, it occurs to me that my daughter, who is now 18, is covered under my policy, but only until 25. And
right.
After that, she's on her own. And she has to go out and figure out how to do these medical things, especially at a time when she's probably has a career, has a job, has all kinds of expenses to worry about. So unless she or people in that age group plan to do something,
correct. Yeah.
How much does it cost, where will the money come from, are important things.
And also how much to buy. I mean, this is where a lot of people get stomach, right? That how much insurance do I really need? And then we'll have to do some thumbing. Okay, every person's family situation will differ. But if you are in India living in a large metropolitan city, Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore, then you must have at least 10 to 15 lakhs of what is called a family floater. I mean, you just said 10 lakhs straight away gone. So you must have a family floater, which means that your nuclear family is buying a medical cover for that. And if an event happens to one person, the entire, that whatever is remaining can be used for the other family member, were you to leave it in the same year. And when you go for renewal, the entire amount comes back. In smaller cities, really, you need lesser amounts. So between, again, 3 to 7 lakhs, depending on where you are. But have your own policy absolutely a must.
Yeah, and the But the range of choices that people have to encounter when trying to make this call, how much to buy, how much coverage do I need, the types of variations in the policies are quite mind-boggling. As a free market guy, I think all this choice is good.
Yeah. We all grew up thinking choice was good, but my goodness, when you see 500 brands of soap, you realize choice is not good. And similarly in finance.
Yeah, and going back to medical insurance, policies are cashless. I even noticed one policy that is specific to specific diseases.
Cancer policies they have.
And I have never seen anything like that in other parts of the world. And I'm really surprised. So, a family, whether it's a single wage earner, two wage earners, with children, without children, with parents, without parents, they have complicated choices to make. And I think we need to, it would be nice if they had some kind of rules of thumb or heuristic
on how to even choose a policy. And you're right, there are, I think last count, 30 insurance policies, if I'm not wrong, 30 companies who sell insurance products. Imagine that every company has 10 products, and imagine that it takes you 2 hours to read every brochure. And the market is about disclosure, but when you start looking at disclosure in those policy documents, you need a degree in law, finance, and maybe mathematics to decode that math. So we need a little bit of rule of thumb to understand how to actually choose a policy.
Yeah, and I guess at this stage, again, given that our viewers are going to come from different data of society, we can give them some general guidelines in terms of how much to buy, what should be covered, when we should start buying, and then give them some tips so that they can go investigate for themselves what is more specific to their individual situation. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
This is one of the toughest decisions to take, to choose out of so many policies, so many benefits. So I'm going to give some thumb rules. Choose a policy which is not just the cheapest, but look at the benefits and the fine print. Check to see if the policy has a co-pay clause. Don't buy if it has a co-pay. Check if the policy covers pre-existing diseases. I like policies that cover them, or at least cover them after 1 or 2 years. Check if the policy has a disease waiting period. I like policies with no waiting period. Check if the policy has sublimits. This puts a cap on things like room rent. Pick a policy with no sublimits. Then check for exclusions. What is it that the policy will not cover?
So Monica, you listed out very nicely the choices that people have when it comes to picking medical insurance and how they should go about picking those choices. But I think there are still some complications that we need to sort of give them a better sense for. For instance, I know medical insurance is complicated all over the world. I know that there are lots of global companies who have come to India and taken bits and pieces have taken stakes in Indian companies and kind of trying to globally standardize a product. So even if people know how much insurance they need and what kind of benefits they want to receive from that insurance for medical purposes, which company do they go to? Who do they buy it from?
So the need for medical insurance is clear, but the moment of truth is when you go to make a claim. So you've done the due diligence, you know the benefits. You have to choose a company who has respected, who has given 95 out of the 100 claims made.
And that data is available?
That data is available. You have to do a little bit of search, but that data is there, that they should be paying out the claims. And the problem in India is a lot of the companies for individual health policies don't pay the claims so well. So you really must look at the numbers carefully to see which company is actually giving those claims out. Also look for a company with very small complaints numbers. So less than 30 complaints for every 10,000, less than 30 complaints for every 10,000 policies claimed.
You would think, right? I mean, there will be some self-selection, right? The companies who are good guys will tell the world all of this, but the companies that are not will not.
Yeah. So look for those companies.
No, that makes kind of sense. So now we've covered this up with, medical insurance, how much to buy depending on your family situation, what kind of benefits you need to deal with depending on your lifestyle situation, whom to buy it from. But, there is still a sense, and there always will be, I think, when people like you and I are talking about these things, that some homework needs to be done at the individual level to fit every one of these recommendations we make to their personal financial situation and their personal financial money box.
That's right, and this is such an important decision because what you're trying to do is you're trying to free up your money to invest in the markets. Instead of keeping it liquid, you're trying to free it up to get your money to work harder. Therefore, spend a lot of time on this decision because it's really about the future of your money.
And the fact that once this is made, you will actually be able to go work towards wealth creation with the rest of your assets.
And that is what we are going to be talking about. So keep watching, come back.
Keep watching, come back for more. She couldn't have said it better herself.